I've said this before. You don't have to change who you are. Now, I want to be clear. I still believe that. Okay, let's get that straight. But if we stop there, it can turn into a lie. Because if you move the same way that you always have, you're going to get the same results that you've always got. So, today, what I want to do is I want to pull that apart and I want to talk about what I really mean. Change how you move, not who you are. Let's talk about it. Okay. Hey, hello, hello. I am Natasha. This is The Quiet Mic. This is where we talk about what it actually looks like to lead with quiet authority without turning yourself into a performance. If you're a quiet leader, a business owner, or just a professional who's trying to grow without losing yourself, you're in the right place. This space is for you. So, welcome. We are live streaming today from YouTube and on LinkedIn. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you like this video, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, and share it with somebody who needs the conversation. If you're watching on LinkedIn, hello, thank you for joining. Make sure that you share this live as well, and feel free to connect with me if the message hits home. These things really do help us out with getting the message to the right people that really, really, really need to hear the message. And if you see this clip somewhere else, wherever else I posted, you can always watch the full video on my YouTube channel, which is The Quiet Mic Official. Okay. This is the Quiet Authority Conversations. This is my weekly live series on what it looks like to grow, to lead, and to evolve without abandoning who you are. Now, I want to level with you today. Okay. I talk a lot about not changing who you are. Okay. I mean that. Okay. But I'm not going to tell you that you need to become loud or fake or on all the time just to be taken seriously. But here's the part that we don't always say out loud. If you hold on to every old habit, every old pattern, every old story about yourself and refuse to change anything, your life is not going to move. Facts. Okay. You will be the same person with the same habits in the same situations, wondering why nothing feels different. Facts. Okay. Make that make sense. For example, in my own life, my core didn't change. Okay. I've always been thoughtful. I've always had a quiet nature. I've always cared about doing things well. That's just who I am. Okay. I've always cared about respect. That's just who I am. What changed was how I used those parts of me. And I decided who would have access to those parts of me. And I had to get honest about the price of staying small. So, to keep us organized, I'm going to walk through 7 realizations that helped me. I know a little bit more than usual, but 7 realizations that helped me. So, if you're taking notes, you can number 1 through 7. Okay? You ready? All right, let's get into it. Realization number 1, think about the price of staying the same versus the price of growth. Okay. There is a price for staying the same, and there's a price for growing. Neither one of them are free. Let's be clear. Okay. The price of staying the same can look like this: every week, every Sunday, you fear what that Sunday is going to look like because the next week you're going to feel what you feel, but you don't like it. Or it could look like being a person that everybody depends on and the person that nobody sees. Yeah. Or it could look like watching promotions, projects, or clients go to people who are not even capable as you, and they're just more visible than you. Okay. Or it could look like going to bed, replaying conversations in your mind where you stayed quiet and you felt yourself shrink a little bit more and more each time. Or it could even be more obvious, like physical stress, where you get the tight shoulders, the headaches, the tension in your body, trouble sleeping, you're eating out of stress, or just not eating at all. Stress eaters, I know, right? Either way, in those situations, you pay with your peace, you pay with your body, and you pay with missed opportunities. You pay with your own self respect. Yeah, friend. Now, here's the price of growth, because there's a price with that too. It could look like having conversations that make your voice shake, but you still do it. Okay. Or it could feel like feeling awkward because you're not hiding behind your old habits anymore. Or the price of growth could look like having some people being surprised or even uncomfortable because you don't move the same way you used to. Okay. It could be that the price of growth looks like losing a few relationships that only worked when you kept yourself being small. Um, it could even look like you have those days where you're proud of yourself and days where you're just tired from stretching, meaning stretching yourself. Okay. That's also a bill. And that bill for growth has a cost. What do you pay with? You pay with comfort. You pay with predictability. You pay with short term ease. Short term. Okay. So the real question for you is going to become, which price are you willing to pay? Okay. If you choose growth, you pay in discomfort now. If you choose staying the same, you're going to pay and regret later. Okay. My point here is this: neither one of them are free. Okay. And that's going to lead to realization number two. Realization number two, there's a core you, a core version of you versus a trained version of you. And here's the difference. This is what I'm talking about. The difference between who you are at your core and who you trained yourself to be in order to be safe. Okay. So, for example, the core me is thoughtful. The core me is quiet. The core me cares about doing things well. The core me cares about respect. Okay. I care about all those things. That's who I am. Now, the trained me, the trained version of me, says yes when I meant no, or said yes when I meant no. The trained me would stay silent to avoid conflict. The trained me would over deliver so that no one would ever say that I didn't do enough. Okay. The trained me will let anyone and everyone have full access to my energy and my care. Okay. So that's the difference. So when I say don't change who you are, I'm really talking about that core, the core of who you are. I'm not asking you to stop being thoughtful. I'm not asking you to stop being calm or to stop caring about quality. That's not what I'm talking about, friend. Okay. But that version of you that learned to survive by shrinking yourself, yeah, that's the version that cannot be the one that's in charge if you want a different life. Okay. You get to keep your values. Okay. But you don't get to keep every old survival habit and still expect new results. Okay. That's going to bring us to realization number three. Okay. And number three is same values but different behavior. Okay. So your values can stay the same while the way that you live them out has to change. And here's what I mean. Okay. The old pattern for me was I value respect, so I never challenged anything. I would stay quiet and hope that people would see I'm being respectful. It sounded good until it didn't. But a lot of times it wasn't respect, it was fear. Fear of being seen as being difficult. I didn't want to be seen as being difficult. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of someone being mad at me. You know, who wanted people mad at you? You see, the value stayed the same, but the behavior needed to change. Okay. Now, respect for me looks like this: I still value respect. And that means I speak up clearly when something is not okay. I respect you enough to tell you the truth. And I respect myself enough not to sit in something that's hurting me. See, it's the same value, but different behavior. You see what I'm saying? I didn't throw away respect. I just stopped using respect. I put respect in quotes because it's that fake respect as a cover up for disappearing. Okay. You don't have to change your values. I want to be clear on that. You don't have to change your values, but you got to stop letting your values be an excuse to stay stuck. Okay. Moving on to realization number four: same temperament, different way of moving. Okay. Your temperament can stay the same, but how you move with it has to evolve. It has to. So let's talk about being quiet. Okay. Old story. For me, I'm quiet, so I'll sit in the back. I won't share my idea. I'll just let other people lead and hope that someone notices what I bring to the table. That was me in a lot of rooms. Okay. I use the I'm quiet just to justify hiding. Now, new story. I'm quiet, and that means I listen deeply. I notice details. I don't just talk to talk. But when I do speak, I'm clear and I let that carry weight. Okay. Same temperament, different way of moving. See the difference? I didn't become loud. I stopped using quiet as a shield to never show up. You don't have to become a different kind of person. You have to just stop hiding behind a that's just how I am when it's really fear. Okay. Moving on. And I'm going to try to keep it moving. Realization number 5, discernment so that you don't speak up about everything. This one is important. You'll probably hear me say this very often. Not everything needs your voice. Not everything needs your voice, but some things actually do. And I'm not telling you to speak up about everything. Why? If you try to do that, if you try to correct every single thing, if you try to push back on every comment, every battle, you will drain yourself. Okay. And I mean that wholeheartedly, friend. So here's my point, discernment matters. Okay. For me, discernment sounds like asking, is this about my safety, my dignity, or my workload in a real way? Okay. Or it could sound like, will this still bother me next week? Or is this just some level of irritation in the current moment? Or it could look like, if I stay silent here, am I abandoning myself or am I choosing peace on purpose? Not everything needs a response, but there may be some things that do. The work is learning the difference, okay? You don't need to jump on every small thing, but when something touches your values, your respect, your limits, that's usually a signal to you that you need to speak or you need to act, okay? That leads us to realization number 6. Who gets access to you? Okay. Not everybody should have the same level of access to you. Now, I know that may hurt some of you, but it needs to be said. I had to say it. For a long time, anybody could get my thoughtfulness, anybody could get my extra effort, anybody could get my listening ear and my best ideas. And with that, they didn't have to treat me well. They didn't have to respect my time. They didn't even have to show up for me the way that I would show up for them. And I look back on that and I would just tell myself, like, that's just who I am. I'm loyal and I care. But I started to see a pattern. I was I was giving the best of myself to people and spaces that had done the bare minimum, if that, to even earn it. Part of changing who you are and how you move is that you have to take care of yourself. You can still be kind, you can still be generous, you can still be thoughtful, you can be those things, but not everybody gets the deepest version of that. Okay. Not everyone gets unlimited access to your time, your energy, your mind, your heart, all those things. And it's not being cold, it's not being harsh. That's you being responsible with your time and your energy. Okay. Remember that. It's your responsibility. Okay. Now, last realization, number 7. What if you don't recognize yourself anymore? And I say this one for last on purpose. Sometimes people think that if I don't recognize myself anymore, that means I abandon myself. Well, not always the case. Okay. There are some old versions of you that you shouldn't recognize anymore. I'm going to be honest with you. For example, if you used to be careless with people and now you're thoughtful, I would hope that you don't recognize your old self. Okay. Or if you used to let everyone walk all over you and now you stand up for yourself, again, I would hope that the old version feels very, very distant to you. Okay. Or if you used to move from fear and now you move from clarity, that's a good kind of brand new, y'all saying being brand new. But let's say what that really is, because you're not losing yourself. Guess what it's called? It's called growing. The problem is not changing. The problem is performing. And there's a difference between saying, or thinking, I don't recognize the person that I've become because I'm finally healthier and more honest, versus I don't recognize the person that I've become because I'm pretending every day just to be accepted. Okay. Those are two very, very different things. One is growth, the other is acting. Okay. We're not chasing performance over here. Okay. We're not doing that at all over here. But we're allowing more of who you really are to show up. Okay. That's what we're doing. Now, while we're having this conversation, I want to touch on something. You hear me say this a lot, and the quiet ones move the room, so let your quiet speak loud. That's I in every conversation with that. When I say that the quiet ones move the room, I don't mean that the quiet ones sit in a corner and hope that someone notices them. I mean that the quiet ones bring so much presence, clarity, and truth that the room cannot stay the same. So when I say let your quiet speak loud, I don't mean yell. Okay. I mean let your decisions, your boundaries, your words, and your work carry your weight. Okay. Your quiet can move the room, but it can't do that if you keep shrinking out of it. Okay. You gotta be present. Okay. Changing how you move is how your quiet starts to speak loud. Okay, friend. Whew. I know that was a lot. That was a lot. So, if you've been taking notes, you should have 7 realizations, okay, from this conversation. Now, here's the question that I want to leave you with, because I always want to leave you with something. Where are you losing yourself? What bad habits are you protecting? Okay? What are you saying I'm just quiet when you know that you're really hiding? Maybe it sounds like I'm just loyal, when you're just staying in spaces that keep you drained. Or maybe it sounds like I'm just humble when the truth is you're scared to be seen. Okay. This week, I want you to pick just one area. Don't overwhelm yourself. Pick one area and ask yourself, if my values stayed the same, but the way that I move has evolved, what would change here? Okay. It could look like speaking up once in a meeting instead of swallowing your thoughts. It could look like saying, I can't take that on. Okay. And then really not taking it on. Or maybe it looks like you updating how you introduce yourself so that it reflects who you are now. It might even be how you limit the amount of time that you give to someone who doesn't handle you well. Okay. I'm talking about small shifts, but real shifts. And most importantly, nothing fake. Okay. Here's what I want you to carry with you. You don't always have to change. No, I'm not going to say always. Don't change who you are at the core. Your values, your quiet nature, your desire to do things well, your heart for people, those are not the problem. But if you keep moving the same way with the same patterns, the same shrinking, the same keep the peace at my own expense, you're going to keep getting the same life. Okay. Now, if you're okay with that, then fine. But if you're not okay with that, then you know what to do. Okay. You have a say in how you move. That's on you. You have a say in who gets access to you. You have a say in whether your quiet disappears or if it actually moves the room. Now, if this conversation spoke to you and you're watching on YouTube, please make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the Quiet Mike Official, and share it with someone that is ready to grow without performing. If you're watching on LinkedIn, hello again. Make sure that you share this live and connect with me and comment if you saw yourself in something that I said today. Okay. If you catch a clip later on somewhere else, you can always, again, go to the Quiet Mike Official on YouTube to watch the full conversation. I invite you to join me on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Central Time for Quiet Authority Conversations, where we really talk about what it really looks like to grow, lead, and evolve without disappearing from your own life. Okay. Now, remember, the quiet ones move the room. So let your quiet speak loud. Until next time, bye bye.